We always think about orcs and, like Mount Doom when we think about like the ultimate evil in Tolkien.
No,
Like you've sent us some fascinating stuff on like the OG baddies, Morgoth and Sauron.
Yes.
So we're going deep on this one.
Yeah.
Their origin stories, the power dynamic, how their ambition really shaped Middle-earth as we know it.
And it's interesting because they both start with such incredible potential, like even divine power in a way.
Right.
Before it goes really bad.
Yeah, it's almost Shakespearean, isn't it?
It is.
This fall from grace, this price of ambition. But where do we even begin with a being like Morgoth, who's meant to be like the most powerful of the Valar?
Well, it all starts with music. Not like harps and lutes, though. Think bigger. The music of creation itself. Imagine a symphony so powerful that it literally sang the universe into being. Melkor, that was Morgoth's original name,
Right.
was a master of this celestial choir, you could say. But that talent was his undoing.
So instead of like harmonizing, his melody kind of went rogue. Like what was that? Cosmic Rebellion in C major?
In a way, yeah. The other Valar, they wanted harmony. But Melkor, his music was discordant. He wanted the power to create life on his own, to possess what Tolkien calls the flame imperishable,
Right.
the source of creation, the thing that only Eru, the one true God, had.
And that's where his fall begins. This frustration, this inability to create for himself, did it like warp how he saw the world the others were building?
Absolutely, that frustration, it festered in him,
Yeah.
twisted his ambition. Because he couldn't create, Melkor turned to corruption, domination. He wanted to control the very fabric of existence. Imagine a sculptor who's so enraged that he can't give life to his statue that he smashes it to pieces.
Wow.
If you can't have it, no one can.
That's a chilling thought and a powerful image of how like resentment can become something way more destructive. And this is where the vastness of time in the First Age really gets me. We're talking like epochs upon epochs.
Yeah. Time flows differently in Valinor, the land of the Valar.
Yeah.
Imagine this. One Valiant year is like a decade for us.
Wow.
So even a short time there, for men and elves, it's generations.
So when we say Morgoth reigned for millennia, we're talking about a span of time that we just can't even fathom. It's in that immense timescale that his true darkness takes shape, culminating in this massive event, the destruction of the two lamps.
And these weren't just any old streetlights, were they?
No, not at all. The two lamps were more like celestial lighthouses.
Okay.
The radiance that came from them shaped the landscape, and infused Arda, the world itself, with magic and life, destroying them. It wasn't just physical. It was a blow to creation itself.
Right.
It left a scar that would linger for ages.
It's hard to even imagine that level of, like, primordial devastation. It's like the universe itself got vandalized. How did the other Valar even begin to recover from that?
They were devastated, that's for sure. The lore really emphasizes their despair, but they drew on the last vestiges of the lamp's light, and they created something even more extraordinary. The two trees, Telperion and Laurelin.
Picture a silver flower and a golden tree, side by side. Their light, it was like a symphony of colors. It ebbed and flowed like breath itself.
I'm trying to picture this. More wondrous than any garden I can imagine. But you said they were more than just beautiful, right? What made their light so important?
Oh, they weren't just, sources of light. They were conduits of pure creative energy. Everything that was good and beautiful in Valinor, it drew its strength from their light. Even the Valar themselves, they felt their spirits, uplifted and renewed in their presence.
So when Morgoth targets them, it's not just an act of disruption. It's more like he's cutting off the lifeblood of this world the Valar are building. But how could he even get to them? Weren't they guarded, sacred?
And this is where we see Morgoth's real cunning. He couldn't create this kind of life, this pure beauty, but he could corrupt it or use someone else's hunger to destroy it. And that's where Ungoliant comes in.
Ungoliant. Just hearing that name, it's like chills down my spine. What could even create a being with that much monstrous appetite?
Imagine a creature born from the absolute darkest depths of the universe. A being of pure consumption. A black hole given a monstrous form. Morgoth, in his spite, he sought her potential, not as a servant, but as a weapon. He lured her to Valinor, whispered promises of, unimaginable feast, twisting her hunger towards the trees.
So even though he can't create, he finds a way to manipulate, to corrupt. That's its own kind of terrifying brilliance, isn't it? Using Ungoliant to wound the world in a way that he never could alone.
Exactly. He takes the very nature of darkness and uses it to extinguish light. And with the trees poisoned, their light fading, a shadow fell on Valinor. a shadow that would reach even into the Second Age and beyond.
And it's here, in this time of despair, this dimming hope, that we see another power start to rise. One who learned from Morgoth himself, Sauron. You said he was more than just a powerful lieutenant. What made him different from all the other monstrous creatures in Morgoth's ranks? He's like the ultimate apprentice, right? Learning from this master of chaos, but then he takes that evil and makes it, like, more precise, more calculated.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Morgoth was like a force of nature, like a cosmic hurricane. But Sauron, he was more like a virus.
Subtle, adaptable. Morgoth raged against creation, but Sauron, he wanted to control it, to manipulate it, bend it to his will. He understood that real power wasn't just brute force. It was influence, deception.
And he was honing those skills early on. I mean, you said he was active even during Morgoth's reign, back in the First Age, right?
Oh, absolutely. While Morgoth's out there battling gods and elves, Sauron's busy sowing discord among the younger races, whispering doubts, twisting perceptions. I mean, he's instrumental in corrupting men into orcs.
Right.
That's manipulation on a societal scale.
Talk about a toxic legacy. So even after Morgoth falls, Sauron doesn't just, like, slink off defeated.
Yeah.
He takes those lessons in manipulation and basically becomes the big bad of the Second Age.
And what's his most cunning move?
What?
The Rings of Power. He couldn't create life, not like the Valar.
But he could create these objects of immense power.
Okay.
And even more importantly, use them to ensnare others.
It's like that old saying, if you want something done right,
Do it yourself. And make sure it also gives you dominion over a good chunk of Middle-earth.
Exactly. But it wasn't just about brute force with those rings, was it? It was about control. Sauron understands that power works best when you don't even realize it's controlling you.
Exactly. He even tricked the elves, the masters of craft, into helping him make them. Imagine the skill, the guile to pull that off.
And, like, let's not forget his strategy in the Third Age. It's like he's playing 3D chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers. Armies, fortresses, spies, he's got it all.
What were some of his most, like, cunning moments, you think?
Oh, man, where to even begin? Using the Palantir to corrupt Denethor, really.
Okay. The Steward of Gondor, driving him to despair, just played right into Sauron's hands. Manipulating fear and distrust among the free peoples, turning them against each other. Sauron was playing the long game, a game across centuries.
He almost won, too. Like, if it weren't for a couple of hobbits.
That's the thing about Sauron that makes him so terrifying. That patience, the willingness to play the long game. He was fine letting his plans unfold over generations, just biding his time, waiting for that perfect moment to strike.
And in the end, it's that single-mindedness that does him in. That inability to imagine that anyone, even Frodo, would choose to destroy the ring instead of using it.
It's a real paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
The ultimate evil, undone by the smallest creature capable of, like, true good.
It reminds you that even when faced with unimaginable darkness, the smallest act of courage, of hope, can be enough. You've given us a lot to think about. From the music of creation to the echoes of evil that linger even after the most powerful Dark Lords are gone. It's clear that both Morgoth and Sauron, in their own terrible ways, they shaped Middle-earth as we know it.
They really did. And maybe that's the most unsettling thought of all, right?
Yeah.
Without darkness, there's no light. And without evil, there's no real test of heroism. Something to ponder, next time you're wandering through Tolkien's world.